What is politics?
It's a tool and we all do it. The word manipulate also has a very negative tinge to it. Imagine a Saas Bahu serial, right? It is heavy on super politics, very little on depth on any one subject. You take, let's say, someone like Jaishankar, who is our external affairs minister. He's got to play it very street smart.
Okay.
When he's sitting in an interview and a European reporter asks some very tricky questions on purpose, he gives it back with with interest.
In this episode, part 1, Anand joins us to decode the hidden layers of office politics, from street smartness to Sri Krishna's ethical diplomacy. Through real-life stories and epic characters, we explore how to navigate workplace dharma and also drama with wisdom, courage, and grace. Let's dive in, enjoy this free-flow conversation. Welcome to the Life Crits, the TLG conversation, a free-flow, casual conversation. Today we have Anand with us, and what are we going to have this conversation about? It's about workplace wellness. See, wellness has to be all-rounded, right? So it's not about physical health, emotional health. It's also when we go to a workplace and there we need to be feeling happy. We should just have that excitement to go to work the next day or stay there if needed. And when the word politics comes in, there's a lot of negativity around it. People think politics is something negative. Is it negative? Is it positive? Is it needed? Or we should avoid it? What's all about it? So we have Anand here, a very good friend and mentor of mine, and he's walked the path, and hence we have Anand, and I'll let Anand introduce himself.
Okay. So, well, you want to talk about office politics?
Before that, we would like to know about you.
Anyway, but I think there will be, between you and me, we are not really that good at it.
And hence,
yeah,
the right people.
the right people to talk about it from the perspective of being useless at office politics, but then giving sermons about
See, we being victims are the ones that we have the right to speak about.
the victim's perspective.
Exactly. And you know how we prepared ourselves for this conversation. What is the victim perspective? How do I go about it? What if I'm just cornered in the office? So I think this is going to be, and we have been there, done it, and we have reached a decent situation also in life. And I think we have all the...
I'm sure there are a lot of people who struggle with it, in the sense that, it's not everybody is born with that kind of an ability to be manipulative or, move around. Not necessarily manipulative, even manage basic human interactions, right? Not everybody is born with an expertise in that, right? So it does help to put some things in perspective. So we can do that.
Can we know about you, Anand?
Well, to describe myself, I've been spent about 2 decades in the IT industry, and then with some startups, and
So you've
with
been
telecom, and been a telecom engineer
Okay.
by training.
So corporate is your game.
Corporate has been my game,
Okay.
and then now out of corporate also into startups and things like that. But probably what I would like to describe myself as is a generalist. Right?
Generalist. Okay.
So generalist, who's a generalist, is like, who delves into all subjects. Not deep enough to be an expert in anything.
Okay.
But then...
So being a generalist, and how easy was it to play the game of game in the workplace, basically?
It's actually very helpful.
Okay.
I think we can talk more about it. But to be a generalist is to know about a lot of to do just deep enough to know about a lot of things, but not deep enough to be an expert in any one of these things.
Okay.
But then good enough that any expert cannot take you for a ride.
Can I say jack of all trades? And that helps?
Deeper than Jack.
Deeper than Jack.
But then, yeah, you can say that.
You can say that.
Yeah.
What is politics?
It's a tool. It's a useful tool.
Okay.
And we all do it. We say we don't do it.
What do we do? When you say politics, what is it that defines politics?
It's, if you look at it, it's behavioral economics, how we behave,
Okay.
right? So economics is not just GDP and GDP per capita, and economics is how humans work, or not just humans, right? Even animals, and how any society works given scarcity.
Okay.
Right? There are very limited number of resources,
Mm.
and we all fight for it.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And when we fight for limited number of resources, how best not to stamp on each other's foot
Mm.
to get what you want.
If we Google, or if we just generally, if we see if it is politics, the definition would be something like a group of people who has the access or the power to influence or take decisions that will impact a larger community.
Which, by the way, why should they do that? Because it's economics underneath. So all politics is built on top of economics, right? So anything that you do in politics, the foundation is economics, and economics is the foundation of economics, scarcity. The limited number of resources. That is why you need a certain agreement between people in a society, and that agreement is I know that you will not do this, and you know that I will not do that. Therefore, there is some amount of agreement, implicit, understood in society. And there is a law which is also based on economics, which also enforces that kind of an agreement.
This is like larger way. Let's see this conversation. I would like the freshers, the young people who are getting into corporates.
Yeah.
How this conversation needs, if even if it helps 2 or 3 people, the freshers, and they find clarity. Okay, I'm entering into it. I know there will be politics, and I know how to navigate it. Either I choose to play with it, or just be a spectator. That's the thing. So when we say a fresher gets into a workplace, and they feel there is a groupism, or it's a different kind of they're not involved in higher discussions. There are certain type of, they don't even know what is politics. So when they get from the college, it's a group of friends. Maybe that itself is a different kind of a politics at the college level, but they never know that it is going to impact their career, their growth. When they enter, what are these youngsters supposed to know?
Interestingly, some of the youngsters who will get into a corporate or any company, for example, may know much more than somebody who spent 20 years in it. Some of them are born with it. They're beautiful in that skill. Right? They know how to talk to people. They know how exactly what to say and what not to say in what situation. For some of us, it is an acquired talent. For many of them, it is an innate talent.
So are you saying politics is nothing but it's an community? It's an art of community.
It's an art. It's an art. It's a tool. For some people, it's a tool.
But with what objective?
To navigate life better.
For me or for others?
For everybody. Right.
So when I do it for myself, that becomes negative. Is it like?
We'll get into that in more depth. It's a very valid question. It's a very interesting question.
Okay. So we will. You can tell us, like, there are different kind of politics, like you before the conversation when
I'll give you some examples of how I learned politics, because that politics it's not in a negative sense, but
see, this is exactly my problem. When we say the word politics, it's always,
it has a negative
why
tinge to it.
Why? Anyway, we'll leave that.
We'll come back to that.
Yes.
And we'll define what is negative. In fact, we will define where it takes a negative color, and we will define where it is actually very positive. It's a highly positive thing also to do.
And actually, this conversation we are having because Anand has a beautiful way to bring out the relationship from Mahabharata, Ramayana, and also today's politics. And we're looking forward for those references, because what Krishna played is an ethical politics.
It's very interesting, yes.
Yeah. And if we talk about different types of politics, there is manipulative politics. There is like, politics itself is manipulative, but then there is power politics. So are there, can you explain us, are there different types?
The word manipulate also has a very negative tinge to it, but it can have a very positive tinge, and we will talk about that in more detail.
Okay.
Yeah, why not?
So what are the different types of politics? Are there any type of politics, or is there only one type of politics?
So let's, I'll kind of define, at least I'll share some experiences that I had.
Yes.
You spoke about people who are getting into
Freshers.
a professional setup in their lives,
Yes.
20 years old, 22 years old.
Yeah.
They're getting in the corporate world, or even the
Startup
it
world.
can be quite dirty. It is possible. Some of them are clean, some of them are dirty. It's possible. But I'll give you my experiences, right? It's something interesting that happened. So I'm from pretty much from Bangalore.
Okay.
And the days when I was growing up in Bangalore, it was a very laid back and beautiful city. It still is in some places. At least the weather is beautiful still. But at that time we had the ability to walk comfortably on streets without fearing somebody will run over you.
Yes.
With traffic. That was not the case. And fortunately, I had some good friends where we would discuss, not just our engineering topics. We would talk about relativity, we would talk about quantum, and we would talk about philosophy and stuff like that. One set of friends.
Okay.
Another set of friends would discuss a bunch of other things. So what friends usually do. So it was an interesting learning phase.
Okay.
In a calm city.
In a calm city.
Which it used to be.
Okay. Okay.
Now you do that, and then I got into a core techie job in the starting, and I became, I was writing code and C++ and Unix and all that, and I absolutely loved it. Wrote some really good stuff. What a core techie career does for you is not exactly prepare you for a business profile as such,
Okay. Yeah.
But at some point, I took a decision to move into business side of things.
Okay.
So when that happened, and then I ended up in Bombay.
Okay, can we just, even when you were into the coding phase, how was politics impacting you, and why did you even move? Is it politics that made you realize, no, I'm good at management?
Not necessarily. No, I just figured out I was writing a lot of code and interesting stuff. Did some really deep coding, system level coding, and it was really good work that I got an opportunity to do. Indian Institute of Science, and spent some time in Motorola and all that. It was a pretty interesting deep level coding stuff, right? And that's what core techies are made of.
That was a fresher period?
Started as a fresher, but it's almost close to 8 years, 9 years worth of coding, leading engineering teams and things
How
like
was your office culture, and how did that impact you to the person?
That's what I'm saying. So when it comes to that kind of a profile, you're not really worried about so much. You're not worried so much about business and the.
But even then, your promotions, even as a techie.
Yeah.
A techie
You need
who
to
can
know.
Communicate will get promoted and get a better salary.
Which is fair.
So were you impacted with that kind of situations?
I was not so bad in communicating.
Okay.
That part of it.
You had your visibility even as a coder.
Yeah.
So visibility is important even as a coder.
Yeah, of course. Actually, for anybody, it's not so anybody. The better you communicate, the better you are at storytelling. It's always a leg up, because whatever you do, at the end of the day, it's meant for people.
Okay. Because there is always
it's meant for people. What you write as a code is meant for people, and if people don't understand what you're doing for them, and you don't get what they want from you, then it's always going to be a mismatch. So that's okay.
But generally, in South Indian houses at least, they say, do your work 100% with all your dedication, rest everything. God will take care, nature will take care, universe will take care. You just do. If you're coding, just focus on your code. Your code has to be the best. So at that time, your communication and other thing gets impacted.
So therefore, the thing is that when you are in a purely coding profile, while you may get a chance here or there to speak to customers and things like that and understand business, you will visit maybe 1 or 2 customers. But you're not going to visit customers day in and day out, right? You're going to sit in the lab and you're going to write code and stuff like that. Once in a while, there may be an exposure. Unlike a business profile where every day you go and meet customers and you get yelled at.
For many profile, your own team becomes customer. You're writing for your internal customer, not necessarily always. So how do I deal as a coder?
We'll come to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It is important to empathize. Even as a coder, it is. So nowadays in startups, especially with a lean startup mechanism and with design thinking and these kind of things, these kind of frameworks falling in place, every line of code is validated by bouncing it off a customer feedback, right? So of course the product management team takes care of it. But it is important that the product management team liaisons with the coding team. And they also understand clearly. In fact, in some of the startups that I work with now, I make sure that the coding team is exposed to the customers.
Okay.
And when we show them the user experience, right? Let's watch together how this guy uses this app. And when he skips what you think he will do, but he skips it, the customer skips it totally, user fully skips it, you know that all your coding effort is wasted. We make the coders actually see that.
Okay.
Not every day, but every now and then we make sure that, the impact of customer behavior is what will affect their coding work, right? So we expose them to that. But it's not possible in all places. Just small startups, you can do that much more.
Yeah.
But in bigger setups, you are sitting somewhere and the customer is sitting somewhere in the US. And it's not always possible. But that idea of empathy, even for a coder, is something that must definitely be, as an organizational strategy, it is important to expose the development team to that.
Okay.
But fair enough. So what I'm, to come back to this topic, as an engineering team member, staff engineering team,
Yes.
you're not that exposed to a customer base as compared to a sales guy or a product team.
What here I'm trying to ask is, even if it is a 10 people team, there is an engineering lead, there is a bunch of young engineers. The next promotion is going to be out of 10, one will become an engineering lead. How does this 10 people fight among themselves to become the next engineer?
Even that, the way the product team or a sales team will fight among themselves will be much more evolved in strategy than how the engineering team fights.
Okay.
The customer need not be external. I agree with you.
Yeah.
How the product management team, they are an evolved case because they understand, they have worked with customers.
They play very refined politics.
These guys may play some kacha, raw politics.
So
politics is there everywhere.
That is exactly what I asked. So in your 8-year career.
So therefore, what I'm trying to say is, as a techie, your abilities to play politics is lesser. Not for everybody. At least in my case. And people, I'm sure that there are a lot of people in my kind of, in my bucket. But then, when I landed up in Mumbai, and that was a business role, it's a product management kind of a role, right? And you know how Mumbai is. You know how Bangalore is and you know how Mumbai is, right?
Stuck.
So, that is like super fast paced.
Okay.
Now, if you don't know, if you're not political enough to know where to go stand so that you can get into a goddamn local.
Even to
you'll keep standing and the locals will keep coming and keep going. You will be standing there on the platform. You'll get pushed.
So even to get onto a train, you need to be political.
You need to be political, no?
Okay.
I mean, you have to.
Actually, I would say I need to be smart than to be political.
So therefore, political is the equivalent of street smart. So there are two aspects to it. Broadly, when you're talking about this politics, right? So I look at it as street smartness.
Okay.
Versus, let's say, intelligence. Depth. Intelligence basically can be not necessarily brain intelligence, but depth of knowledge, how deeply you go into some subjects and things like that, right? So you map, let's say, along the y-axis. This is the techie speaking in. Along the y-axis, you map, let's say, intelligence, right? And x-axis, you map street smartness.
Okay.
So now, some people choose to be completely along street smartness. They use all their brain power towards street smartness.
Basically, nothing domain strength.
Not just one domain strength, not in anything. By and large, if I were to give you an example of this, imagine a Saas Bahu serial, right? It is heavy on super politics, very little on depth on any one subject.
Okay.
At
least cooking will be their strength.
Even that strength also is converted into. I mean, it's actually about fighting about how to cook.
So
and who owns the kitchen? That will be the
domain strength. If we say in the Saas Bahu thing, domain strength will be cooking or home maintenance, and then street smartness. Fair enough.
There will be something over which they'll fight, but the fighting is more important.
Okay. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And we should not restrict it necessarily to just Saas Bahu. It happens much more in the male domain also.
Oh, I never knew father-in-law and son-in-law fight.
They don't.
They don't.
But if you go to any office kind of a situation, there will be some silly thing,
Okay.
and then they will be equally fighting about that. Their intelligence on the
Very
topic,
interesting.
the topic will be very little,
Mhm.
but then their fight for place will be much higher. That happens in office, and it's. I mean, what I'm trying to say is, it's not necessarily though. We don't have to villainize women, right? It happens equally or much more in an office space where men also fight like this. So when you use a Saas Bahu serial example,
No offense
it
taken.
can very well, not just offense, it is true that men also fight like cats and dogs.
Okay.
It happens, right? So it's the nature of the person than the gender, right?
Okay.
So some people tend to go fully into street smartness,
Okay.
whereas some people go completely into the depth and intellect. If you take let's say a Ramanujam kind of person, right, or an Einstein kind of person, they're not that political. They don't, spend their time playing politics. They want to go deep into the subject.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that's a highly intelligent. When I say intelligent, it's about depth of knowledge, not about brain power.
Okay.
How do you use your brain? Do you use your brain to play street smartness game, or do you want to play the depth and intelligence game? And you're very little bothered about the politics. So this all humanity, all people fall somewhere in between.
Okay. Okay.
All of us, nobody can be 100% along the y-axis. Nobody can be 100% along the x-axis.
Okay. Got it.
So inevitably, we all fall somewhere in between.
Right.
Right. Successful people, by and large, fall somewhere in between, who can manage a good amount of politics and also are deep. They do study stuff. They understand in depth. They take courses. They keep improving themselves. They find knowledge interesting. Knowledge for the sake of knowledge itself is interesting to them. Right? They read books and stuff like that. It's what do you get out of reading this is never a question that comes to their mind.
Okay. Okay.
Right? No, I read because I like it.
Yeah.
That's it. Will I make money out of this? Not necessarily. So that's an intelligence axis, and there is a street smartness axis.
Yeah.
If you do a good balance between these two, probably the chances of success are higher.
Probably my chance of getting into the metro is possible because we initiated a conversation here. Even to get into a local train.
So that actually street smartness works good enough. You observe a few times.
Exactly.
You don't need by the way, if you study, it's better to go from the side to get into the entrance.
Again, that is an experience I got to know.
You can either get it through experience, or you can also study it and then do it.
Okay. Observe. Watch the videos multiple times. So, okay, this person gets into it.
Which also is a deeper study, by the way.
So, here we are discussing versus like office, the politics versus the street smartness.
As a combination of these two, I'm saying that it's not enough if you just have deep intelligence. It's not enough if you have only street smartness. Only when you have a combination of these two. Because pure street smartness will take you up to a certain level. After that, you can't grow anyway in any office. Because you will be hollow. I mean, it shows and everybody knows already. Right? Stuff nahi. This guy doesn't have enough stuff. So immediately people figure it out. I'll give you some examples, right? You take, let's say, someone like Jaishankar, who is our external affairs minister. Has got to play it very street smart.
Okay.
When he's sitting in an interview and a European reporter asks some very tricky questions on purpose, he gives it back with with interest. Right? And a super street smart guy. But at the same time, he also knows to do that job of an external affairs minister, he needs to understand oil economics, he needs to understand geopolitics, he needs to understand economics, he needs to understand so many different things, resources that are available, which person behaves like what are the communism, socialism, the different kinds of democracy that exist, the parliamentary system. He needs to know the entire gamut of things. That's the depth with which he needs to work. And the street smartness that he needs to work also is that he needs to be smart enough at that time. What is the exact appropriate answer for this particular reporter who is asking this tricky question because she's trying to trap me? See, the domain strength, all these things for Chief Minister, the Minister Jaishankar, the domain strength is something that looks normal. Okay, I'm not saying it's normal, but then
where do I learn the street smartness? Is there any course? Like, see, I know if I have to learn geopolitics, oil economics, and unit economics, or all these things, somewhere I can go, I can talk to the experts and I learn. But then where do I learn the street smartness, which is also called politics?
Life teaches you. And
How long and where?
oh yeah, it can happen. That I'll give you a beautiful example, right?
Mm.
So something, and which I picked up from the Mahabharata.
Okay.
You know Drona, right?
Mm.
Who's the teacher of the Pandavas, the Kauravas, and all these guys, right?
Yes.
This man,
Mm.
Drona,
Mm.
you know how he was living before?
Mm.
The way his life, he used to observe something called Shiloncha Vritti.
Okay.
Shiloncha Vritti is he wouldn't pluck a fruit
Mm.
out of a tree.
Ooh. Okay.
He would eat
If it falls.
fruits which birds have pecked and dropped.
Mm.
Yeah. And then whatever is left of that, he picks up and eats. And that's about as much as what goes into his system.
Okay.
Rest of the time in meditation
Mm.
and jnana.
Okay. Okay.
So it's like 90 degrees towards the intelligence axis.
Mm-hmm.
Very little towards the street smartness axis.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. That's all.
Uh,
A man who's been doing Shiloncha Vritti. This is how his life was.
okay.
At one point, he met the Hastinapura,
The clan.
the clan, and he got married to Kripa's sister, Kripacharya's sister, Kripi. Got married, then they got a son, and Ashwatthama was born.
Yes.
And Ashwatthama was, happy to go play with the princess, princely king, princess and all that. And his mother used to make milk.
Mm.
The milk was not actually milk, it was, the flour,
And the
rice flour. Ha.
Yes.
ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟು
Okay.
ಅಕ್ಕಿ ಹಿಟ್ಟನ್ನು ನೀರಲ್ಲಿ ಹಾಕಿ ಕೊಡೋದು ಹಾಲು ಕುಡಿಯಪ್ಪ ಅಂತ rice flour mixed in water, call it milk, and she used to give him. This kid used to drink and go play. Until one day Duryodhana and his gang took him to the palace and fed him milk with kesar and badam and all that stuff. Like a light bulb went off and my mom has been taking me for a ride. What I've been drinking is not milk.
Yeah.
So he comes full speed back home and says, no, this is not milk. Mom, you have been taking me for a ride. Give me milk, I want milk. Immediately, Krupi, the mother, talks to Dronacharya. We need milk. Where do I go for milk? Says, you get a cow. Where do I go for a cow? Says, you know so much and you're all this. What is the use of this? Your intelligence axis of no use unless you bend the intelligence. You come back to the street smartness axis, right? Come this side. So Drona sets off. So he says, okay, fine, I'll go get a cow.
Okay.
So he goes to Parashurama.
Ah.
Now Parashurama is sitting there and our man Drona goes to Parashurama. He says, I want a cow. Parashurama says, dude, I don't have a cow.
Okay.
But I got Shastra. I got Shastra and Shastra. Shastra is like, I got nuclear weapons, I got drones, and I got all kinds of weapons. Brahmastra and stuff like that. Whatever you want to learn, you can learn. I don't got a cow. So our man, is intelligence access guy, right? He's not really street smart. So he says, okay, fine, teach me.
So you forgot about the
So it's not a 1 hour podcast. He's sitting there for 12 years.
That's too much for a cow.
So no cow.
He didn't get the cow in.
He doesn't have a cow. So Parashurama said, no, sorry, dude, I don't have a cow. I can teach you Shastra.
Okay.
Shastra is the weapon.
Yeah.
Shastra is how to use the weapon. That is, under what spiritual circumstances you should use it.
Yeah. Okay.
Shastra and Shastra is available with me. That is, limited escalation and all that stuff.
Okay.
No civilian attack. This is spiritualism.
Okay.
Shastra is the actual weapon. When do you use it? How to use it? Both I have if you want to learn. 12 years this man has sat there.
Okay.
Learned. After 12 years, he got up and realized I was supposed to take a cow home.
Exactly. I was worried about from the wife's perspective.
By that time, Ashwatthama has grown up, milk drinking days and all that are gone. But this man still thinks the kid needs a cow and milk. And then he walks straight to Drupada's place, who is his childhood friend.
Okay.
Drupada and this guy, Ibru Chadi Dosta. Yeah. thick friends from a young age, from their Gurukula times.
Okay.
And Drupada at that time, they were so friendly that Drupada said, anytime, half of my Rajya, my kingdom is yours. You want anything, you come and ask me. That's what he had said when they were in the Gurukula.
Okay.
So believing that, this man goes there. At the gate, Drupada says, who is this guy?
Ah.
So Drupada is now, entire intelligence access, now he's completely into street smart access. Okay. Says, yeah, I'm our man Duryodhana, sorry, Drona. So he's saying, look, we've been together. Says, I've been your friend. So he says, no, friendship and all that is possible between equals, status, antast, same antast. Weddings and marriages are possible between similar aged people. We can't have these kind of relationships. And he kicks him out. Okay. Now when this happens, our man who was at Chiloncha Vritti, who was eating stuff which was dropping out of a tree after a bird has pecked at it, now this man gets the first seeds of anger and revenge. And Mahabharata starts off from there.
Okay.
In a sense. One of the important drivers of the Mahabharata story is this episode that Drupada behaves in a rude way with Drona, and this man gets the seeds of anger and revenge,
okay,
which start growing. What does he do? He comes back, sets up a school.
Okay.
He teaches all the Kshatriya princes, including the Pandavas, Kauravas and all these guys. School meant to teach. Of course, he's learned from Parshurama.
12 years of...
12 years, and even before that, he was an expert. So, he's learnt all that stuff. He's teaching all these kids, not for teaching them, but with revenge in mind.
Not for the passion of sharing the knowledge.
Maybe that also, but then this is...
The driving factor.
The driving factor is this also critically, right? To the extent that now, when these princes grow up and they have learnt, Bhima and Arjuna go kick Drupada, drag him and put him at Drona's feet. You know what Drona says at that time to Drupada? He says, dude, I came to you. You said friendship is not possible between unequals.
Yeah.
Of course, that time it was not possible because I was a beggar and you were a king. Now you lost everything, but I got your entire kingdoms. So now also friendship is not possible now.
Yes.
Even now it is not possible. Okay. So therefore, because I want to be friends, I'll give you half the kingdom. Take it. It's possible only according to your definition of friendship. Yeah. We gotta be equal. Now you are a beggar. I got your kingdom. So now let's be the now friendship is not possible. Therefore, I'll give you half. Take it and go. This is poisonous speech speaking. He's not telling it out of concern.
Yeah.
He wants that revenge is burning and is saying that.
So it's always
this is how a man who was not into politics at all, one trigger from life. You asked, where do you go learn these kind of things? Life teaches you. And your Swabhava as a person, if your Swabhava as a person is supposed to go through this kind of transformation.
And my Swabhava changes?
No, this is your natural Swabhava. You might be doing some other beautiful things that, I will live only through Shiloncha Vritti and all that. If it is part of your Swabhava to experience these kind of things, if you are supposed to learn these kind of things, in the bigger scheme of things, Krishna says, in the Bhagavad Gita, in the bigger scheme of things, I will make sure that you learn it this way. When you say life teaches you, life is not some intelligent thing to teach you, unless you have a...
So how? Now the same thing, if we bring this to the normal world, this is happening. The same thing is happening. A person is very poor, he gets insulted and he wants to show that I'm good enough. This is exactly what happens even today. It takes 15 years of education. I'll be gold medalist because...
Somebody said you are useless, you cannot study.
So...
That
insult.
That insult would have triggered me to study and show this guy that, that I can actually study and whatever.
That is a motivation, right?
It can work as a motivation.
So it's not wrong.
Yeah, it's not entirely wrong, but at the same time, you don't have to make it as a revenge story.
Where do you think Drona went wrong? Or is he right?
No. So we'll come back to those things. But
No, the question what I'm leading is, it's in one way, if Drupada has not triggered him, he would have been still the same who is without the cow, and he would have been lived a simple life.
the logic is there are different kinds of people. What is Drona's natural swabhava?
Mm.
Huh? So, for example, some people, there are different kinds of people that exist. There is the sattvic type, there is the rajasic type, and tamasic type. None of that is either good or bad by itself.
Okay.
Right? It's not just because somebody is the tamasic type. People make there is a lot of misunderstanding in this. Right? When somebody is a tamasic type, it is not that it is a bad kind of thing. It is by nature hagal kaidang, like the bitter gourd.
The nature of bitter gourd is to be bitter.
Is to be bitter. So there's nothing wrong in being a tamasic type. And there's nothing wrong in being a sattvic type. And there's nothing wrong in being a rajasic type. Now, what type is Drona? Drona is a sattvic type actually. But then even the sattvic type, to understand himself, there is self-realization. The self-realization is not, sitting in meditation and figuring out that, I am something. No. You pass through life and you get these kind of emotions that, revenge, anger and all that. And then you pass through all this through not one birth, through multiple births. And then you figure out that, okay, this is not the path that I want to go. I want to be here. Right? So that realization is what life is all about, spanning across multiple janmas. Yeah, that's the bigger picture.
That's a bigger picture.
That's the bigger
really
picture.
Big picture.
That's a big picture. But we'll stick to this, that, as far as Drona is concerned, for Drona, the right path is not this revenge kind of thing. If he was a tamasic guy, then probably that is the right path and he should continue there. You ask me, is this the right? Shouldn't you do that? Isn't it a good thing? He would have grown up. That is when he triggered him to grow.
Yeah.
No, Shilonchapati is his natural flow. His swabhava is
So
natural.
he rebelled his nature.
Yeah. For example, we'll take the more current example. Somebody in your office is an R&D guy who likes to do quantum physics and makes semiconductors and stuff like that. He doesn't want to play politics. Minimum politics he is supposed to understand so that he doesn't, talk nonsense in a conference, something like that, and then bring down the company. That he should not do. Basic. But most of it he can align himself to the intelligence axis. He doesn't have to come fully to the street smartness axis. Doesn't have to do it. That is not his natural swabhava. So whatever is his natural swabhava, he needs to stick there.
So you're saying let him maintain a healthy street smartness / politics, where he's not.
You find that axis, you find that line, which kind of puts you at your most comfortable zone. Right? You can be very, very close to the intelligence axis if that is your comfort zone.
Okay.
For some people, that is not the comfort zone. For some other people, this street smartness is the comfort zone. There's nothing wrong with it.
See, the problem is, how do you say if it is, now if somebody takes credit, now this person itself, this person who's very good in quantum physics or making semiconductors, he does all the work because he's so passionate, he does his work so brilliantly. And a street smart guy takes away all the credits.
Yeah, so
how does this passionate guy deal this?
See, broadly, what happens is, inevitably, when this kind of thing happens, when somebody steals your thing,
this is what is basically, this is what will happen. Again, I'm connecting this to my earlier question. The youngster, the freshers, the first 2-3 years, they are doing so much with all enthusiasm. They come and they see that their own managers are taking credit for their own work. And hence, they become bitter. Basically, a fresher who is, even if from the college level, if they were very street smart and other thing, their intention was never to be bitter. It was for them to grow better and to be more successful. But when that becomes bitter and when politics takes a negative tone is when somebody has started taking credits for my work. and I'm not given that credit or I'm not given an appreciation, that is where it turns into that negativity. So prevention or precaution is like being, but what is this person who is very passionate about whatever the whether it might be today's world data analyst or it might be in whatever field they are passionate, they are focused so much on it.
So broadly, if you look at it, what will happen is, first point is that this person by himself, the new fresh engineer or researcher or somebody who does some core work, very interesting work and things like that, occasionally finds a good mentor who is willing to give credit for this person. Otherwise, most other mentors will not really mentors. They are like, they want to take credit and put their name also into this guy's research. At least this guy's name will appear somewhere in the research paper. Something like that. That's a very unique case that sometimes happens. You can't help it. In fact, that itself is the basic learning. That is how the world works. Without that experience, first-hand experience, this guy will never know how to deal with it. So next time will be a bit more careful.
And this was interesting, like when you said that it's not that even if I want to play that politics right or wrong, or however I'm in the learning curve of even learning the art of playing it right. You were mentioning how Dasratha, if it is not part of my swabhava, which like Drona, it's not the natural, but then Dasratha, it backfired.
Yeah.
That's an interesting, if you can...
So what's interesting is, what we normally end up forgetting is that that in at least in the Hindu spiritual systems, right? Or at least let's say in on this land, in the spiritual systems, the progress, the samsara, what is called as samsara, the progress across samsara happens even through the Bhagavad Gita. If you look at lens of the Bhagavad Gita, if you look at it, doing any karma, forgetting that there is a bigger entity which governs this entire activity on this world, and thinking that I do stuff myself, right? And there are also people and even spiritual gurus who end up saying, you've got everything is within you, right? Then you got infinite power. You got nothing. Do you feel infinite power? You sit and meditate for 10 years. You get infinite power. Nothing. It's not going to happen. We're finite entities. And let's be clear about it.
This is, I think our conversation is getting into Dvaita power.
No, not necessarily.
Kind of thing.
It is, I'm saying that it is not necessarily. It is, I'm talking about day-to-day experience, right? We are drawing from experience.
Right.
And we are drawing from experience and understanding that we are a limited power. And there is a higher power concept, and that is what Krishna talks about in the entire Bhagavad Gita, right? That even in this ma phaleshu kadachana concept, right? Karmanyeva adhikaraste. Your adhikara is towards doing your job right and doing it sincerely enough and submitting. If you write an exam paper, you will do your best. You can't say, give me 100 marks. I can't dictate terms to you. If you are the evaluator, you evaluate at the end of the day how much marks I'm supposed to get.
Today
I did my best.
Possible.
Huh?
In today's world, it is possible. I can give an empty paper and still get 100 on 100.
No, let's not go into that.
That is what we need to discuss here. See, one person who is writing sincerely and getting a 40 or 50 marks, and somebody who has written a bullshit and still gets 100 on 100, do different means.
No, we'll stick to this. That's a valid point, but that is a different discussion. Right? Here, specifically, when you're talking about...
Apply that to work also.
Hold on. So, your point was with respect to the, what is that? Dasharatha's case.
Yes.
And that is with respect to what is healthy politics, by and large, correct? We will talk about what is healthy politics, what becomes unhealthy politics.
Okay, yeah.
We'll go in that direction. So now, anything that happens when you assume, like for example, what Drona did, he made it about himself.
Yeah.
Right? That entire revenge story became all about himself. Right? It's not that, I am going to take revenge on this guy, Drupada, for the betterment of society. That was not his intention. Like, you kind of, crossed me wrong, crossed my path in the wrong way, and I'm going to make sure that you pay for it. Right? This is the direction in which his thought process was when he decided to take revenge, and that was years of revenge. Right? And he continues to do this kind of things even later. Similarly, Dasharatha, very good intention, by the way. His intention is to make Rama the prince, the king. He's the prince. He wants to make Rama the king.
Okay.
But he is worried, he is suspicious and worried about Kaikeyi. Because Kaikeyi, what she had done was she was his charioteer. Kaikeyi was his charioteer. She was an amazing charioteer. And she helped him he was about to get shot, and she saved him by driving the chariot in a beautiful way. And Kaikeyi Desha is somewhere in modern day Pakistan.
Okay.
And Afghanistan, Pakistan area, and you know how beautiful they can be. And she must have been, really beautiful. Our man fell in love and married her and gave her 2 boons also. Right? Anytime you want, blank check. You ask me, whatever you want, I'll give you.
Yeah.
I won't say no. He gave that, married her, and now he's worried that, she will stop. Okay? But even before that, Putra Kameshti Yaga happens, where he wants sons for taking over the Rajya. And that payasam which comes, he doesn't really want to give it to Kaikeyi.
Oh, okay. Oh.
Okay? So that payasam...
Because of the boon?
Yeah, that boon haunts him.
Okay.
He fell in love. Love is like that. So he fell in love. He gave 2 boons. Now he is worried that, even now we are suspicious of Pakistan. Even then we were suspicious of Pakistan. We never don't trust them fully.
Okay.
So he is very untrusting of her. Right? And then he's like, he takes that payasam, splits that into half.
Okay.
Gives it to Kaushalya.
Okay.
Remaining half, he splits again into 2. So 1/4, 1/4 each.
1/4.
Gives it to Sumitra. 1/4 is remaining. That 1/4 again he splits into 2. He's very hesitant, but gives 1/8 to Kaikeyi. Because he can't say no. She's Pattadarasi, right? She is the queen, one of the 4 major queens. Remaining 1/8, he doesn't know what to do. He gives it to Sumitra. Again, so Rama for Kaushalya. Sumitra gets Lakshmana and Shatrugna. Bharata is Kaikeyi. Right from there, the politics has started. Gave the boon, he's stuck. Now he's worried about the politics of it. Okay? Even then. And then, as it progresses, when the princes grow up, he is careful. He sees Bharata going to Kaikeyi Rajya. Kaikeyi Rajya.
Okay.
Bharata has gone there.
Okay.
Thinks this is a great opportunity. We should make Rama the king.
Okay.
And then he says, astrologers have told me that, the time is not good. I will die quickly.
It's always fear that drives him.
Fear. Politics is a combination of many such drivers. Right? You do crazy things when fear drives you.
In Drona's case, it was
Revenge, insult and revenge. Sometimes it is fear.
Here, very clearly, Dasharatha is afraid of Kaikeyi's power.
Yeah. Right? But the overall intention is still good. He wants to make Rama the king.
Yeah, but then it's also fear that drives.
But then the fear, So, fear and desperateness, right? So, just listen to other interesting things that he does, right? So, what he does is, Bharata has gone there.
Okay.
So, he wants to he says, give excuse, astrologers have told me these kind of things. And some Chaitra Masa, Punarvasu Nakshatra, all that stuff. He says that. And then very quickly assembles all his loyal kings to convey to them, take their consensus. See, when if you're a big king and all that, you still need consensus of everybody in the office, no?
Right.
You can't just say, I will do something and then go, everybody else will pull your leg, pull you down, right? Pull the carpet under you. So that won't work. So he needs to bring all the kings, take their consensus. He does not call Kaikeyi Rajya, but he smartly also does not call Janaka, who is Sita's father. So that later on, if somebody questions, why did you not call KK Raja, then says, no, see, it's all done in such a hurry. I didn't call Sita's father also. Can do this. Very smart guy. Khiladi. Right?
Dashratha is a killadi.
Of course.
He tried to be at least.
Did all that. And then all this happens, and then he somehow manages to do all that. But then, see, there is, in Kannada, there is this lovely Dasara pada, right? Harichitta Satya.
Okay.
We sing it in Jhompuri Raga, right?
Okay.
Harichitta Satya Namma Harichitta Satya Narachittake Bandadu Lavalesha Dora Kadu Harichitta. Hari's Chitta. Hari's Chitta is Manas or the mind, right? Hari's Chitta will prevail.
Okay.
That is the one which will finally work. Narachitta, like
The human
the human intellect, you can think whatever you want. If it doesn't align with Harichitta, it's never going to work. Let's be clear about it, right? So, Hari's Chitta is right there. His son is Hari.
Yes.
But his Chitta is not matching. And then if Dasharatha he's a good guy, sattvic guy basically, but he's like thinking, I can play politics. I can also play politics.
For me, somehow, it's his fear that manifested also.
Fear which manifests, and then out of fear, people do stupid things. Okay, so, but it is not aligned.
This one reminds me of who loves you more when Krishna was asked this, or who thinks me more is Duryodhana, though he hates me. More compared to Arjuna and Duryodhana, is Duryodhana is the one who always thinks about me 24/7. It is like this.
But that's out of fear.
Out of fear, what?
That's out of suspicion.
Let it
not
be.
Out of love.
Correct. The bhava is different, but then...
But bhava is the one which matters.
Which matters. But here for Dasharatha, what backfired is like his own fear. He manifested what he wanted.
So the moment you are desperate for a result, this is where Mahaphaleshu Kadachana comes back into picture. Karmani eva adhikarate. Your job is to do the karma, but if you become desperate for the result, it backfires for you.
So how did it backfire,
Dasharatha, if our man Dasharatha can play politics, he's a good guy, is not really meant for politics that way, right? Manthara, that is a different kind of a soul. It's an expert in playing politics. It's designed for that. Soul is a natural politics player. Right? She's see, any of these Mahabharata, Ramayana, all these things, they are essentially designed as Devata plays. They are not it, although we count it very much as itihasa, as part of our history.
Yes, yeah.
These are Devata games that are like, it's like a drama setup as a Devata play. So each one is actually an avatara. We will actually discuss also about, I was planning to discuss with you some things that happen with Vali, Sugriva, and I'll map it to Arjuna. It's also very interesting to see what happens there. But anyway, we'll come back to that.
Okay.
But here, if Manthara is a natural, manipulative, very, very natural, gifted politics player. If our man can play this much politics, Manthara can do a much better job of politics.
Okay.
So she beautifully poisons. You should see the steps, lovely steps she takes to poison Kaikeyi's mind. And Kaikeyi, she's actually happy that Rama is going to become king. And from there, she turns her 180 degrees, and then, she completely asked for those two boons. Boon number 1, Bharata should become king. Boon number 2, Rama should go to exile.
Very curious. Why did Manthara do this? So what was her objective?
Her objective was a previous insult that had happened to her.
So insult is again the...
Not just that, she is naturally... so, in the case of Drona, an insult triggered him, but then that is not his natural status.
Yeah.
His swabhava is not like that.
Right.
Whereas in the case of Manthara, her natural... nothing wrong, by the way. Her natural status, her jiva swabhava is like that. To take insults. She'll be looking for insults actually. Some people are like that. They're very toxic people. You can't change them. You cannot change them and say, everybody is divine, everybody is lovely, everybody is God. No, Some people are toxic. Let's be very clear about it.
Okay.
Some people are very sattvic. Some people are toxic.
Yeah, you will never know the sweet of a payasam till you have a bitter gourd thing.
Yeah.
So you need people to play the game fair.
Yeah. So if, when you find a toxic person, you figure out how to keep away or keep the interaction minimum. Or if you have to really interact, work with having a proper detachment towards that interaction. Keep your mind stable. Because you will come across toxic people in the workplace, and you will need to figure out how not to get affected by them when they take you around. And they will do a good job of it. It's going to happen. You figure out how to move out of that.
That's a wrap on part 1. We hope this gave you a fresh lens to look at office politics. See, it's not just a problem, but as a skill. We should know it as a skill to be understood and mastered. It's another art and skill, nothing to be away from. And yes, please hold on for part 2 coming next week, where we go into the politics and drama of our great epics. From Vali and Rama to Kaigeyi and Mantra. Yes, that's also politics, right? We need to take reference from why not, how not to play everything. Why not take reference from those epics? Stay tuned and definitely heartfelt thanks for all your support.